Hi, you are welcome to another lecture of the Home Care Assistance program. And this is our last lecture on the understanding the human body. Understanding the human body. So today we're going to the reproductive system. That's the last system left. Then we also look at the sense organs. The reproductive system, the human reproduction result from the union of the female sex cell, that is the egg or the ovum, and the male sex cell, that is the sperm. So the structure of the male reproductive system and female reproductive system, they are different. So we are going to tackle it differently. I'm going to look at male reproductive system, then we also look at female reproductive system. So fine, first the male reproductive system. The testes are the male sex glands, so they produce the sperms. Male cells are called the sperm. I've already said that, and they produce the testes. I'll also talk about the fact that when we were looking at the endocrine system, the testes also produce a hormone which we call the testosterone, and that's the male hormone. And it is needed for the functioning of the reproductive organs and for the development of the male secondary sex characteristics. I talked about all these when we were doing the endocrine system. I talked about the fact that it's what makes a man a man. And when you become a teenage adolescent, females become more female, males become more males, and you see that the features start changing. Male become more muscular, broken boys. Female, they start storing fat on their buttocks. They become curvy. The buttocks start coming, their breasts start developing, and so that of males are regulated by the male sex hormone, that is the testosterone, and that of female is also regulated by the female sex hormone. The testes are housed in a sac called the scrotum. That is I think the scrotum is rather the in the sac that houses the testes. Yeah, the sac that houses the testes. So we have sperms travel from the testes to the epididymis, then the vas deferens eventually to the seminal vesicle. We will get to see the picture very soon. The two seminal vesicles store sperm and produce semen. So the store sperm and produce semen. Sperms, if we have those who have seen sperm before, it is fluid, and basically sperms are not fluid. There is something we call a fluid that is produced there that add up to the sperm to make it more fluid. So semen is a fluid that carries sperms from the male reproductive system. So the ducts of the seminal vesicles unite to form the ejaculatory duct. You get to see everything in the picture very soon. The ejaculatory duct passes through the prostate gland. The prostate gland secretes fluid into the semen. The ejaculatory joins the urethra, which also turns through the prostate. Then the urethra is the outlet for both urine and semen, and the urethra is contained within the penis. So this is what it's talking about. So the testes, if you see, just locate the testes. It is down here, and the scrotum is what is covering it. So it produces this, and you see it has a cap on it. They are actually small tubes, and that's what we call the epididymis. So when sperm is produced in the testes, it comes through the epididymis. Then from the epididymis, it moves through the vas deferens. So that's the tube from the epididymis, moves through the vas deferens, and it comes to the seminal vesicle. And so fluid is being added to it. Semen is being added to it. So from the seminal vesicle comes to the ejaculatory ducts. You could see, just locate the prostate just under the ejaculatory duct, and you can also locate the bladder. There's that big thing here. So the prostate is under the bladder, and you have a tube from the bladder that pass through the prostate, and the ejaculating duct also pass through the prostate. So they unite together. We are looking at the duct of the male. They unite together here at the urethra. They unite together. Then, so anytime you want to wee, it passes through the urethra, and if you happen to have sex, it stops. Urine doesn't come. Actually, urine is fluid is actually produced to prepare the urethra, so that when the sperms comes, it doesn't die. So it's actually produced first before the sperms actually come. That is why you cannot produce sperms and urinate at the same time. One will actually have to come before the other. There's production of sperms and urination does not actually come together. What makes the penis erect is the erectile tissue. So the urethra actually passes through the erectile tissue. And the erection is largely controlled by blood. So there are lots of blood vessels in the penis that helps it to actually that is being filled for erection to occur. So this is a real picture, and you can see that as it has been divided into two, it's being compared to. So you can pause the video here and just look at it very well, where each one is. So the female reproductive system. The ovaries are two female sex glands, and talking about the fact that ovaries are sex glands, and they are into the production of hormones, and they are into production of egg too. That's the ovum. The female sex cell is called the ova or eggs, and ova is the plural and ovum is the singular, and are found in the ovaries. The ovum or the egg is released monthly. So every month, the ovaries, they are two. One at the right side, one at the left side. We will get to see the picture too very soon. And they produce every month. One produces egg every month of the woman. The woman's month, because it differs. Some can be 20, some can be 25, some can be 26, some can be 27, some can be 28, some can be 29, some 30, some 31, some 32. So it depends. The ovaries also secrete the female sex hormones, that's the progesterone and estrogen, which I have talked a lot about it. Okay, these hormones are needed for the functioning of the reproductive system. They are needed for the functioning of the reproductive system, the development of secondary sex characteristics in the female. When ovum is normally released from the ovary, it travels through the fallopian tube. You get to see it. The ovum travels through the fallopian tube to the uterus, and that's the womb. If the sex cells from the male and the female unite, that is, if it ended up meeting the sperm, that cell implants into the uterus, where it grows into a baby. That's where baby forming starts from. The lower part of the uterus is called the cervix, which projects into the muscular canal called the vagina. So the cervix projects into the vagina. It opens to the outside of the body, where what the vagina does is that during sex it receives the penis during sex, and also serve as a path where a child comes from, where a child can pass to the outside of the body during childbirth. In young girls, the external vagina opening is partially closed by a membrane called the hymen. That is when we call, if it is closed, the membrane is closed there, then we call it that's why you say you are a virgin or something. Yeah. Then the external genitalia of the female are referred to as the vulva. You see the picture very soon. When the ovum enters the womb without meeting the sperm, it breaks down with lining of the womb called the endometrium. So when there is an egg and there's no sperm meeting it, it goes to the womb. Normally at the beginning of every month, the womb is prepared to have a baby. So when the egg does not meet a sperm, it comes to the womb, and everything that have been prepared to receive the baby dissolves, and that is what comes out as menstruation or blood or menstrual blood. And this process is called menstruation. And I said it occurs generally, it occurs every 28 days, but it differs for many individuals. Some 25, some 26, some 27, some 28, some 29, some 30, some 31, some 32. So it depends, and every lady needs to study his menstrual cycle to know the number of days that he often menstruates. So if you talk about the picture, this is the ovary. This is the ovary that produces the egg, the fallopian tube. So the egg is produced in the ovary, and it moves to the fallopian tube, move at the right or the left. Then it comes, this is the fallopian tube, comes to the womb. It comes to the womb. This is what we call the cervix, and this is the vagina. This is the vagina here. The vagina is not what we see outside. What we normally call the vagina is what is called vulva. This is called vulva. The vagina is the hole, the vagina opening, or the vagina is that tube or the hole that receives penis during sex. That is what we call the vagina. But the whole thing is called the vulva. The whole thing we see outside is called the vulva, not the vagina. The vagina is what receives the penis, and it is a tube. So the opening we see is called the vaginal orifice, and inside it, the whole thing, the orifice plus the inside, is called what we call the vagina. So I believe now we know the difference, the vulva and the vagina. If the egg is made by a sperm, it actually comes to the womb or the uterus. That's where it becomes bigger and bigger. If it doesn't, then it melts with the lining of the uterus and comes out as blood. That's what we call menstruation. So it's still on the female reproductive system, telling you the relationship of the female reproductive system with the other organs in the body. You can see the bladder here. You can see that the uterus lies on the bladder. That is why when you become pregnant and the baby starts becoming bigger, one of the signs that you see is that you start urinating often, because the uterus or the womb start pressing on the bladder. And also you will see that the rectum, where this is where after eating and the food, the waste product, the waste part of the food, that's where it passes and comes out as feces. You will see that it's also behind the uterus, and at times it presses on it. So constipation is also very common in pregnancy. That's because of where the uterus or the womb is. It's between the rectum or the large intestines and the bladder. Okay. So the tube, you can see the vagina, which is actually a tube that connects the outside to the uterus. Then you could see the bladder and the. So for ladies, they don't urinate through the same place that through the vagina. They have a tube called the urethra, which also comes outside the body, which they urinate through. Labia majora and labia minor are actually parts of the vulva. It's something that we see outside the body. So that's the female reproductive system. So we are actually done with the systems. Now we are going to look at sense organs. There are some organs in us that provide that actually does some special things in our body. So one helps us to see, one helps us to hear, one helps us to taste, one helps us to smell, and one helps us to touch. So we have the tongue. The tongue is actually contains what we call taste buds that help us to taste things. Then we also have the nose is also responsible for smell, and also the touch receptors are found in the skin. So that's why when someone touch you, you're able to feel it. So they are responsible for feeling or touch. Then vision receptors are also found in the eyes, and that's what help us to see. And in the ear we have the receptors that help us to sound, that is able to sense sound, and that help us to hear. So we have 5 major sense organs. We have the organs. We have the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and actually the skin, which these are the 5 major sense organs. They do a lot of sense in fact. Thank you. This brings us to the end of the lecture, and today we looked at the reproductive system. We looked at the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system, and we've also talked about the sense organs. Your questions and contributions are welcome. Thank you.